Welcome, everybody, to Cinema Royale. I'm Travis Hobson of PunchDrunkCritics.com, and it is Oscar nominations day. Yeah, everybody was all excited. Everybody woke up all early to watch the nominations. I was already up, so I watched them. And to me, there were some big surprises in here. And I usually am not someone who cares a lot about the Oscar nominations. I'm more interested in the show itself. But there were some surprises here for me, and I wanted to talk about it. So I brought in my good friend, awards editor for We Live Entertainment, Karen Peterson. How you doing, Karen?
I'm doing all right. I'm a little sleepy because I was up very early
You had
this
to be up super
morning.
early because you're on the West Coast. It was like it's five something there for you guys.
Yeah, it typically it used to start at 5:30. Nowadays, they're starting it a little earlier because now they actually are doing a live broadcast of the entire list. It used to just be the top like 10 or so
Yeah, yeah,
categories. So yeah, it started about 5:15 I think this morning.
yeah,
Yeah.
crazy. Let's get right into it. Let's start with right at the top of the card, man. Let's talk about Best Picture.
Yeah.
Let me get my list up here because I always forget. Best Picture nominees: Belfast, Coda, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. Me and you both agree Licorice Pizza was the best movie of the year. Just
Don't you start those rumors.
okay, it was for me. I know it definitely was not for you. Surprises here for me. I was very surprised to see Drive My Car get in there. I think it's a pleasant surprise. Don't get me wrong, but that one came as a bit of a shock for me, and maybe a little bit for Nightmare Alley as well. Even though I'm glad that it got a few nominations this year. But what do you make about the Best Picture list?
Yeah, so it's interesting because this did go 9 out of 10, exactly what the Producers Guild did. The
Mm-hmm.
exception being Drive My Car, which for them it was Tick Tick Boom was the one that made that lineup. So it's I'm sure the folks at Netflix are a little disappointed, but I mean they still had an amazing showing, so good for them. Tick Tick Boom still got a couple of Oscar nominations. And it's really exciting for Drive My Car. It makes sense. In the last couple of years, we've really seen the way that the Academy is changing as they've expanded the people that they're inviting into the Academy and really broadening it, making it a much more international organization. And we've seen that reflected now the last couple of years with international films making it into the Best Picture lineup. So I wasn't totally surprised about Drive My Car. I did think it would be a better day for being the Ricardos. I think a lot of people
Oh
were a
yeah.
little bit surprised by that. But and then you mentioned Nightmare Alley. I wasn't really surprised by that one. I actually was surprised that it didn't do better overall. It got 4 nominations.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing it here in the Best Picture lineup it just made total sense to me. It did pretty well with the precursors. The Academy loves Guillermo del Toro, and it's a gorgeous movie. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was. Good thing about Drive My Car, they have done a really good job of like pushing that film. Like, I've heard more about that film in the last like couple months than than almost anything else. And I was a little bit surprised and very happy to see Coda in there as well because I have not liked their campaign much at all.
Yeah.
For the last couple of months of Oscar campaign, I was actually kind of worried that it might get shut out because I was hearing so little about it and seeing so little. What did you think about the Coda campaign?
It definitely did feel like it had fallen off. I mean, the movie had a strong showing last summer when it premiered and when it hit Apple TV. I know it did pretty well and definitely audiences enjoyed it. It's probably the most crowd pleasing of any of the movies nominated.
Yeah.
Maybe West Side Story is one of those too. But I think that it definitely throughout the fall it felt like it was falling off, and I thought, oh man, this movie's they need to pick it up. Especially, I knew that they were going to have some competition with themselves with the tragedy of Macbeth, which didn't ultimately land in Best Picture,
Yeah.
and so it was hard to know exactly, what they were doing, what they were thinking. But then when it started popping up in different than like I mentioned the precursors, when it got that SAG ensemble nomination, I was like, okay, this is definitely on track.
Tragedy of Macbeth, it seemed like they were really trying to push that hard in those last few
Hmm.
weeks. And I was, and yet when it wasn't mentioned for Best Picture, I did not feel surprised by that.
I wasn't either. It would have been awesome to see, and I think that seeing some of the places that it did get nominated that I was kind of hoping but didn't think it would actually happen was a pleasant surprise. I think that they definitely have a lot to be proud of today. I think it's a great, great film, and I think that the nominations that it did get are absolutely deserving, but not at all surprised.
Let's talk about Best Director. We got Kenneth Branagh for Belfast, Rasuke Hamaguchi for Drive My Car, Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza, Jane Campion for The Power of the Dog, and Steven Spielberg for West Side Story. You and I talked about this a little bit. A lot of people surprised by Denis Villeneuve not really getting in there for Dune. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So a lot of people are going to use that word snub, like you were mentioning. I don't think this is that case. I'm sure he was right there, just barely. I bet if we actually got to see the tally, he was really close.
Right.
You don't have a film with 10 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, and not have people recognize the work of the director in that. And so it's a surprising miss, but it doesn't mean that there was a concerted effort by members of the Academy to exclude him,
Right.
especially because he has proven to be a popular filmmaker with the Academy in the past, and he's got 2 Oscar nominations because he got in for Best Picture and for Screenplay. So
Right. And Dune has obviously did very well with that. I believe it had what, 10 total nominations?
10, yeah.
10
Hmm.
total nominations. So yeah, he's definitely not being excluded here. It's just Drive My Car, it seems like the movie that really upset the apple cart for a lot of a lot of these categories.
Yeah, yeah, and it continues the trend of, we really have to, when we're making our predictions every year now, we really have to save a space for an international director because this continues to be a pattern. It's happened for the last few years, and it's exciting to see that. And I think it's such a great way for the Academy to show that there are some amazing films coming from all around the world. So, yeah, I think that is where I think that is where Denis missed out, which is funny because he's also an international director technically because he's Canadian, but but yeah, I think the most of these are not surprising. I think most of these
Wow, my
are the ones
cat is
everyone.
being a butthole. Get out of here,
He has
Nick.
some opinions too.
Well, he's upset. He's been struggling through Blacklight with me for the last hour and a half.
Mm,
The Nick Liam Neeson movie. Oh, hello.
yeah.
So
Fun.
there we go. All right. So, yeah, he jumped up on here and he hit some keys, and I was trying to figure it out. Okay. He's gotten into a bad habit of that. God, he did. He brought up the Streamlabs by accident. Now it's popping up everywhere.
Uh-oh.
I know. I'll get it down in a second. This is the drawback of having a very very young and active cat who likes to hop up on everything.
See, this is why I just have a bunny who is old
You
and
have a
is very
bunny.
content to stay to himself.
You have a bunny who only likes to poop when people he doesn't like are around. Like
He does that
um,
when people he does like are around too. So
so sticking with Best Director, Jane Campion, I believe she becomes the first female director to be nominated for Best Director twice. Am I?
she is. That is correct. And this is also the first time in history that we've had back-to-back years with women nominated for Best Director.
Wow,
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, Power of the Dog led the way with 12 total nominations. Great showing for a film that I really don't know anybody that didn't like it. Like I know some people who it may not have been like their thing, but it seems to have been a movie that has been a powerhouse like the entire time.
Oh yeah. It's such a masterful assembly of all of the crafts which you see reflected. It's got 4 acting
Poor acting.
nominations, and then yeah, and then it's in for screenplay, it's in for several technical awards too, and just like what I was saying with Villeneuve, then you've got Jane Campion tying that all together, and thankfully she was recognized here with a nomination, and she stands a very good chance of winning. I mean, Netflix really might finally have their first Best Picture winner
If
here.
I were to pick right now, I think Power of the Dog would win. I,
Yeah.
I really do, and that's even ahead of something like Belfast, which I know a lot of people love as well. I just feel
Yeah.
like Power of the Dog is one of those movies that that everybody seems to be in uniformity about how great it is. It's just
Mm-hmm.
that's my gut feeling right now. It could change, but we'll see.
Yeah, I go
Um,
back and forth, but yeah, that's where I'm at right now today too.
as much as I want it to be licorice pizza, it's not going to be.
Thank goodness.
And speaking of and speaking of Power of the Dog, though, we did talk about the acting categories. It did bring in four acting nominations. Little surprising to see both Cody Smith McPhee and Jesse Plemons in Best Supporting. I thought that we were going to get Cody for sure. I wasn't expecting Jesse Plemons as well. What about you?
He's been one that's been just kind of circling it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone kind of was in the same boat as you. We've all just kind of circled around. Yeah, like obviously Cody's in. He has, this ultimate moment in the film, but Jesse Plemons is there being this quiet, really vital, important figure throughout the film too. And I think that him getting in just really shows how much love across the board the Academy has for the movie. And it's great to see him and Kirsten both nominated together. That's
Yeah,
adorable. It's so
it's
cute.
pretty adorable.
Yeah.
As much as I
And
love her, I like that couple too, and
yeah, they're great.
I want to hate it, but I can't.
Yeah. But it's really great to see him get recognized too in side by side with Cody because those performances are both so great.
Yeah, and they're both so vital to that story too.
Mm-hmm.
All those roles are so vital to making that story work. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Um,
Double nominations for one film, like in the same category, are pretty rare, but it seems like recently we've been seeing more of this. That happened with Three Billboards. It happened, my mind is blanking because I forgot to pull up my stats, but it happened last year too. So, I mean, and there were some other places this year that it could have happened. So, yeah,
is there
it's good to
anybody you
see.
think got left out of this category because we got two for Power of the Dog?
For supporting actor,
Yeah.
see, that's a hard question because there are definitely people that were expecting to see Leto get in there for House of Gucci. There was in recent weeks just this real surge for Bradley Cooper from Licorice Pizza for his like 3 minutes of screen time.
Right.
But I don't know that I could really say that anyone was totally left out. There were some others that I thought, I really thought speaking of double nominations, I actually expected Jamie Dornan to get in for Belfast,
Yeah.
and it's great to see Kieran Hines in there. He's
Mhm.
he's also phenomenal, and he definitely has that real beating heart scene toward the end there. But to see them not both be nominated was a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, the Jared Leto thing kind of surprised me. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy about it because I thought Jared Leto was terrible in that movie, just like I thought almost all of the acting in that movie was terrible. So I was glad he was not in there, just as I was glad Lady Gaga did not get nominated either. House of Gucci really got nothing except for what hairstyling and makeup, I
Makeup
believe.
and hair. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
actually a tweet going around right now. It just started going viral that has an interview with the designer that was nominated and just about how he was, he pulled together this huge lookbook for Ridley Scott, who just wasn't interested in paying him any attention. And then that guy ended up being the only one from the movie to get nominated for an Oscar.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
But I was happy to see that the Eyes of Tammy Faye got nominated for makeup too. So I mean that's good and
Yeah.
ironic in a way, I suppose.
Well, yeah. But it also bodes well for Jessica Chastain. And, when you're looking at who's going to win acting categories, if you've got a subsequent makeup nomination, that really helps.
Yeah,
Just a
and
fun
she's
little thing
really
to note
great in
there.
that movie as well. So I'm glad to see her get some love. We were talking about the best supporting categories. There were others in that category. Work Karen Hines, like we talked about, Troy Katsur for Coda, and J.K. Simmons for Being the Ricardos. Did anybody else get nominated for Being the Ricardos? I know it was a little surprising. No Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah, but they got three acting nominations because you had Javier Bardem in lead actor and you got Nicole Kidman in lead actress.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
But
it was
Sorkin
actually
being out is a bit of a shock.
Yeah, it was a little bit disappointing to see Nina Arianda, or did I say
Yeah.
her name wrong?
No, you got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to see her not in there, but and then Sorkin, yeah, I mean obviously people just didn't broadly love the movie. I'm sure it got votes. Obviously, it got 3 actors in, but
Yeah.
just wasn't enough of a groundswell of support for
Yeah.
it.
I don't remember there being a whole lot of love for that movie.
Definitely not among critics.
No, I know.
And even in the precursors, it didn't do a whole lot.
Yeah. Best actress in a supporting role. This one had a little surprise in there for me as well. Jessie Buckley for The Lost Daughter, Ariana DeBose for West Side Story, Judi Dench for Belfast, Kirsten Dunst for Power of the Dog, and Anjanou Ellis for King Richard. I was not expecting Jessie Buckley.
No.
I'm happy about it. Don't get me wrong. She's great. And like you, I think I expected Katrina Balfe for
Mm-hmm.
Belfast rather than Judi Dench. Some surprises here.
Yeah, I thought at the very least they would be nominated together.
Mhm.
So yeah, to see Judi Dench in and Katrina out was surprising. To see Jessie Buckley get nominated was was really awesome. It's also incredibly rare for 2 actresses to get nominated together for playing the same role.
Yeah.
So, because she and Olivia Colman play the same character, just different ages. So that was pretty cool. I was also surprised to see no Kate Blanchett for Nightmare Alley.
Yeah. Yeah. That role felt thin to me.
Oh my gosh, go watch that movie again. That's the best. She's the best part of that whole thing.
Didn't say she wasn't. I like her, but I felt like in terms of like film fatale type characters, I didn't feel like there was a whole lot more to it. But I felt like there could have been a whole lot more to it. But that was my thoughts on it. Moving on to Best Actress in a Leading Role. We talked about a little bit. Jessica Chastain drives Tammy Faye, Olivia Colman for The Lost Daughter, Penelope Cruz for Parallel Mothers. I wasn't expecting that one. Nicole Kidman for Being the Ricardos, and Kirsten Stewart for Spencer. I am extremely happy about that one. Glad to see her getting nominated, and maybe it'll shut people up who still bring up Twilight. I hope it does, but it won't. I know it won't. It won't. People will still bring up Twilight as if she's never made another movie in 20 years. What are your thoughts on the Best Leading Actress category?
Honestly, I didn't see a lot of surprises in here. I think these 5 have all kind of been part of a group of probably 6 or 7 that seemed pretty much the contenders.
Was Cruz the
Um,
one who got in instead of Gaga?
so it's interesting because I think when it came down to it, it was going to be Gaga or Stewart.
Mm.
And it seems weird to say that. And because Penelope Cruz does kind of feel like she came out of nowhere. But if you look at what the conversation has been the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, it really does seem like there has been this huge uptick in support and people talking about Penelope Cruz.
Yeah.
And so this morning when they were doing the announcements, when Parallel Mothers got in for original score, I was like, oh, that's it.
Mm.
Cruz is in because people have watched this movie and they really like it.
Yeah.
So I wasn't terribly surprised. And I think when it came down to it, you have Lady Gaga who hit every award that she needed to along the way, including being the only one of this group that got nominated for a BAFTA.
Right.
And then you have Kristen Stewart missing out on SAG, which was a really big surprise. But when you pull back and realize there's only a small group of people actually voting for those nominations for SAG,
Mm.
it's less surprising. And there was definitely a lot of murmuring among SAG voters that were upset that Stewart was left out. So, yeah. So when it comes down to it, I think it was between those two. And I think at the end of the day, like we saw, there just wasn't a lot of love for House of Gucci.
Right. Best Actor in a Leading Role: Javier Bardem for Being the Ricardos, Benedict Cumberbatch for Power of the Dog, Andrew Garfield for Tick Tick Boom, Will Smith for King Richard, and Denzel for The Tragedy of Macbeth. But I do it without even realizing it, but I never say his last name. I never actually say Washington. I always just say Denzel at this point after all these years. And he's like the only one you can really do that with. As if I
Yeah.
might be able to do it for Benedict Cumberbatch, but for now it's like just Denzel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Thoughts on the Best Actor category? This one seems pretty standard to me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would have liked to have seen someone else in there instead of Javier Bardem, but
Leo
yeah.
DiCaprio, maybe.
Leo would have been a great choice. I actually was rooting a little bit for Bradley Cooper for Nightmare Alley, which surprises me because I don't necessarily think he needs more acting nominations right now, but
Right.
especially if he's not going to win, and it seems like this race feels pretty locked up, even though I don't like to use that word.
Yeah.
Um, and it also would have been great to see some more love for Drive My Car here. You have a lead actor that would have been an awesome addition to this group too. So yeah, I think there were definitely some other contenders that could have made this a much more interesting race, but yeah, there weren't really any surprises.
You think it's locked up for Benedict Cumberbatch?
See, that's the thing. I still think this is Will Smith's to lose,
Mm.
but with 12 nominations for Power of the Dog, he does need to watch out.
Yeah, yeah. I'd like to see Will Smith get this, but
Mhm.
I know when I first saw the movie, I was like, yeah, I'm not so sure this is like the role. I feel like this might be the time, but maybe not the role.
Yeah, yeah,
I
it's a little
still kind of feel
tricky.
like that might be the case. Like I still don't think this is the best thing he's ever done, but far from it. But it does kind of feel like his time is here.
And it's also not a bad movie to win for either. This isn't like, oh my gosh, he just won for a terrible performance. No, it's a great
Yeah,
thing to recognize him for. It's a good performance. He does a good job. It's a good movie overall. Another crowd pleasing movie.
yeah. I find
So
it
yeah.
interesting that uh, Denzel seems to be matched up with him whenever these situations come up for Will, and it's usually Denzel who disrupts it and messes it all up. And there's that part of me in the back of my head that's like, is Denzel going to mess it up for him again? Like, is he gonna? Is he
You
gonna
know,
fuck it
stranger
all up?
things have happened.
I just there's that part of me that feels that way. Like there's always like there's that one guy who always is in your way, and
Hmm.
like Denzel is it. You know, he's not doing it on purpose, obviously, but it kind of feels like he's his rival.
Yeah, yeah, no, I totally hear you on that. It's kind of funny though because Denzel, with now this is I believe his ninth acting nomination, he's starting to feel like Meryl Streep, where he anytime he's in a movie that's halfway good, people will nominate him.
Yeah,
And that doesn't necessarily mean just because he's nominated he's gonna win because he has not won 9 times or 8 times, and so I don't necessarily know that I would say he's a spoiler to Smith in this case, which is good news for Will. But um, what I could see potentially happening is there being enough support between, for Cumberbatch and also enough for Smith that they split, and that does create room for someone else like Andrew Garfield to come in that people really seem to like a lot.
of my performances on other performances on that list, Andrew Garfield's is my favorite. And that's probably the movie I might say I like the least of the five,
Mm-hmm.
but his performance is the one I like the most. So, yeah, I'm very interested in seeing how that category plays out. Anybody in this category that you think got left out that you would have liked to have seen?
Um, I mean, just like what we were saying, there are a couple that I could have seen get in there, but I
Yeah,
don't know that I feel really strongly like anybody's missing here.
yeah, yeah. All right, let's talk about Flea, which managed to make history here. Best documentary, best animated feature, and best international feature. Did you get a chance to see Flea? And what are your thoughts on what it managed to do today? It's pretty great.
I love Flea. I have been rooting for this movie for months. It's so exciting to see it not only get the 3 specialty film categories, but to see it become the first animated documentary nominated is really exciting. I was actually really rooting for it to also get into Best Picture
I thought
because
it might.
if anybody was going to be able to do it, I think it would have been this movie and Neon, backing it. But ultimately, it didn't happen. Makes me wonder how close it might have been.
Yeah,
But such a great film and such deserved nominations. It's tricky though because now it's got such tough and interesting competition in all 3 of those categories that
mm-hmm.
even with those nominations, it might go home empty-handed.
Right. Competition for best international feature: Drive My Car, Flea, like you said, is in there. The Hand of God, Lunana, A Yak in the Classroom, which I have not seen, and The Worst Person in the World, which everyone who's seen Worst Person in the World absolutely loves it.
It's
I
a
have
great
not heard
film.
can't can't hear enough good things about that film. I really love Hand of God, but I don't feel like this is the movie that's going to do it for him this year. Thoughts on the best international feature category?
I I think this is most of these are pretty, expected.
Mm,
I think a lot of people are surprised to see Bhutan get in with Lunana.
right.
It's a from everything I've heard, I haven't gotten to see it yet. For everything I've heard, it's a very delightful movie. People really like it. It's just that for a first time for this country to be nominated is pretty exciting. What was surprising was to see Asghar Farhadi not in this category
That
with
was
a
what I was going to
hero.
bring up. A hero
Yeah.
not getting in there, him not being in that category at all for a movie that a lot of people really like and I love. I think a hero is another one of those great Asghar Farhadi movies that I won't want to watch too many times.
Hmm.
But it's an amazing character study and moral dilemma. Well, he always moral as he always does. That was really great. I was really
Yeah.
surprised to not see it in here.
I was at first, and then when I stepped back and really thought about it, I realized that I think Amazon kind of dropped the ball on this. I think that
Mm,
they just trusted in Farhadi's name. They
yeah,
just trusted that his goodwill with the Academy and his multiple wins in the past would carry him through, and that they could just put all their focus on being the Ricardos. And I think it ultimately just we
bit him in
see
it.
it didn't pay off for them.
Yeah, they sure as hell sent out enough stuff for it. Did you get
Mm.
the big box of food like in it?
No.
Yeah, they sent like a whole big thing of like, yeah,
See, that's where they went wrong. They didn't send me that box, so that
they
just
sent to
ruined their
you. Yeah,
chances.
exactly. They sent a big box like different Afghan foods. It was,
Wow,
yeah,
cool.
it was pretty insane. I gave it to a friend, so I was gonna eat any of it. In terms of like overall thoughts this year, couple things that I wish had gotten there, at least one that kind of I wish had gotten more or had gotten any mention at all was passing. I wish I
Mm.
could have seen passing get something, especially for Ruth Nega, who I thought was amazing in that film. And I'm a little upset that Belle didn't get in there for best animated feature. I thought it was a really great movie. And Nicolas Cage for Pig, of course, is the one that I'm really kind of hurt by. Although I kind of knew all along he wasn't going to get in there. This is probably the best shot he was going to have for a while, and I kind of wanted to see it. So I held on to it a little bit, but that didn't happen.
Yeah.
What are some of your overall thoughts,
Oh,
Karen?
I would love to have seen Nicolas Cage in there. I think that what he did in Pig, not only the best performance we've seen from him in a while, but I honestly think it's the best performance I've ever seen from him. It's
Yeah.
such a moving, masterful, and endearing work,
Either
and
that or
it's
Drive
just
Angry.
well, that one's up there too. But so it would have been nice to see that. It would have been awesome to see Michael Sarnowski get into the screenplay lineup with his script for Pig, because it's so beautiful cinematography. It just would have been nice to see more of a showing there. And I don't know quite what happened, where it went wrong, but there were some things I was very excited to see happen, especially as we go down the line a little bit. Don't Look Up in film editing was pretty great for me, because I feel like editing, the performances are a lot of fun and the script is
Yeah,
quirky and fun too, but that film works because of the editing. So to see
right.
Hank Corwin get recognized with a nomination was really great. And then my other big one that I hoped it would happen, but I didn't think that it really would, was seeing the Tragedy of Macbeth in production design,
Yeah.
because that production design was incredible.
Yes.
And so, yeah, so I'm happy to see it pop up where it deserved to be.
Yeah. All right. Well, Karen, this has been fantastic. Oscar nominations day. There was only one person I want to talk to, and that was you, of course.
Well,
So
thank you.
thanks again, and let everybody know where they can find all your stuff at.
Well, thanks. I am the awards editor at weliveentertainment.com. And to find links to that work and my other podcasts that I do, you can find me on Twitter at Karen M. Peterson.
All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in to our little Oscars nominations chat. I'm Travis Hobson. This has been Cinema Royale. You can find me every day at punchdrunkcritics.com. You can find me on Twitter at punchycritic. You can find Punch Drunk Critics at PDC Movies. And you can find Cinema Royale anywhere you get your podcasts. Thanks again for tuning in, everybody. Goodbye. Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what we're laying down, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest stuff.